Welcome to the Victoria Rumble Room. We are back. How you doing, Robin Adair?
I'm just so happy. I'm so happy, John, to be back in the Rumble Room. And we've had this 4 month break. I've missed you. I haven't known what to do with my free time. And there's been so much bad stuff going on and some good stuff as well, but a lot of things that have been on my mind. So, this is one of the great things about the Rumble Room. We can dig in on issues locally, nationally, internationally. Gosh, we can get into
Bingo.
space age stuff if we have to. We're going to go crazy on everything, John. So,
But I think, hold on,
what's on
Robin.
your
Hold on.
mind? What are you thinking about? What's
Hold
happening?
on, Robin. Hold on. We've got thousands of listeners and maybe hundreds of thousands of listeners wanting to know what's with this live format? What's going on? Why are you guys doing this? Well, because we love to chat and we love to talk about things, but we don't necessarily love to work our butts off creating the show. So this is a way for us to keep involved in the community, keep people chatting with us. We talk to you can chat on the side. If you notice there's a live chat, you can say hi, you can engage with us. And when the show is over, it's over. It's
And
done.
you can subscribe to us. You can join us in our new format.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and it'll be different, much more interactive, and relying on a lot of your expertise and your experience because you did some live shows, didn't you, in the past?
I've done a few. I've done a few.
That's what. So you know what to expect.
Fraught
Anyway,
with danger, Johnny. They're fraught with danger.
fraught
Anyway,
with danger. What are we going to talk about, Robin? Oh, so many things. How can we not talk about tariffs? How can we
well,
not?
let's talk about tariffs. Let's talk about Mark Carney. We let the show go just as Mark Carney was winning an election, and it was going to be, we thought, very tight. And then Carney comes in with the right answers about how to handle Donald Trump, at least the right answers Canadians wanted to hear at that time. Subsequently, he's come in, and he's come at the time where these big tariffs have been rolling out all around the world. And Carney has been making fairly nice with Trump, at the same time promising a new relationship with the United States, a new way of doing business in Canada, new markets, everything going to be changed and changed rapidly. And I think Canadians have been largely hopeful. His approval ratings are pretty good. People think, well, maybe Mark Carney is doing the right thing. Thank God Trudeau's gone. And, nobody's saying, geez, I wish Polyev was here, the conservatives, because Carney's taken a lot of their platform. So the question is it going to work? Is in fact Canada going to be able to change on a dime? Get these new markets going, get these new production lines happening, new pipelines built, all of this that Carney's talking about happening in the next 2 years. Is it possible? Is it going to happen?
Well, this isn't that the question? I remember the spring. It feels like it was a dozen years ago, doesn't it? And he promised that there would be big changes, that the economy would be shifting and changing in a way that we've never seen before, Robin. And I was like, yeah, baby, let's go. Let's do this. And maybe not being terribly objective or logical about it. How do you move an economy like Canada's with what? 13 provinces, 12 provinces? I don't know what the number is. How do
I
you
think
build
I think there
stuff
are
where the
10 provinces and three territories, John. But
thank you.
who's counting, right?
And every province has jurisdiction over some of the land, and oh, whatever, Carney, you're going to fix it all. Well, I have okay, I have less confidence that he's going to be able to do that. He's still in a minority government. He still needs two members of some sort of opposition to vote with him. Frankly, I think one of them will be Elizabeth May, the Green leader, and who knows where, Sandwich Gulf Islands. She will be one of them. She will have an unbalanced uh, power in how this government is led.
I just I don't buy that at all. I think Elizabeth May is going to dislike just about everything Carney does because he's talking
Oh,
about opening up pipelines, opening up all sorts of things that she's fought tooth and nail against her whole time in office, her whole time in opposition for the Green Party, her Green
wow,
Party
that
of
remains to
one.
be
So
seen.
I don't
Wow.
see that at all, Johnny. I think it's going to be. I think that the public is the big decider. When the conservatives see how onside the public is with these ideas of taking tariffs off internally amongst provinces and opening new business opportunities in places like Germany and Korea and elsewhere, they're going to say, well, we want to get behind this because everybody, I think, is united. Maybe a few a little less than we are, but most people very united in massively opposing Donald Trump and massively being askance at what the Americans are doing to themselves and the rest of the world.
Robin, you're really good at this. I think this should be called the Robin Rumble Room. You're really good at this. It's almost like you've done this before.
Oh, come
You know,
on, come on.
I'm with you. I hope, not hope. I think to some degree, the future of our country relies on some of this stuff happening. We've got to move energy around the country. We've got to diversify our partners.
And I hope David Eby is listening to this. I hope David Eby, our beloved premier in BC, is listening to this message, because many of the premiers are saying, yeah, we want to get on board with this. We want to take down the barriers. Yes, even the NDP premier of Manitoba is saying, yeah, we want to get a pipeline out to Churchill. We're going to get LNG all the way out to Europe as soon as possible. And they're cooperating. They're saying we've got new plans to work collaboratively. And there's silence in British Columbia. There is suspicion between David Eby and Alberta and just about everybody else. He has his own way of doing things. It's going to be BC's miracle by itself, the miracle on ice. And I don't know, David Eby better start paying attention. He doesn't have a massive majority either.
No, he doesn't. He needs the friggin' speaker to pass laws. I mean, I'm startled. I'm simply startled. The province is broke. We have a deficit that I've never seen before in my lifetime, which changed under his leadership. John Horgan had a surplus. Okay, he inherited it from the Liberals, but nonetheless, different. These guys are out of money. The feds are out of money. We all have to work cooperatively to create real economic opportunities. I don't know if he's on board. Remains to be seen.
David Eby, pay attention. The country is saying we want cooperation. The country is saying, in the short term at least, we need natural resources the way we've always had them, because it'll help finance. If we're going to move towards all this green economy, I mean, it was pointed out that as they were developing the light bulb, the people who were developing it had to probably work by candlelight to work on that technology, because there was no electric light before that. Yes. People working in the first Ford plants with cars had to ride to work every day in a horse and buggy because there were no cars. So we have to be able to move forward with our economy with what we have before we can develop what we'll have in the future. And people need to get their heads around that. I got one more topic for you, John, then we're going to bring our special guest on. They've been talking about Canadians' rights to defend themselves. If somebody comes crashing into your home, a home invasion, goes after you and your family, your wife and children, should you have the right to defend yourself? Even shoot the person if you happen to have the means to do it. I don't know, use a crossbow or something. And there are premiers saying, yes, indeed, they have the right to do this. There's other people saying, no, it's terrible. And I've heard the federal minister say it's not Canadian to think about that. And the head of police in Ontario was saying, well, you should call the police. They come in, they start attacking your wife and beating people up. You should call the police. So yeah, yes, 911. Yes, they're attacking my wife. Could you be over right away? I don't know if that's going to work, Johnny. So what do you think?
Let me just understand this better. So there is some discussion about a policy around how one would react if one were being attacked by a criminal. Is that what's going on?
It'd be whether you'd be charged, John, with assault if somebody came in and you attacked them.
Isn't that fascinating?
In your own home.
Who brought that up?
Who brought that up? I don't know.
Okay, whoever did, get out of here. That is insane. Are you kidding? I'm going to defend myself almost if somebody goes ahead of me in the line at the grocery store. Okay? If somebody goes ahead of me in line in the ferry lineup, let alone if somebody's attacking me in the home. Are you kidding?
I mean, Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta, ramps it up about 5,000 by saying they should be able to shoot the guy. Well, I don't think people should have guns in their homes, frankly. I'm not interested in an American system where everyone has access to guns.
But I have a bat, I have a shovel, I have a pickaxe, I have my arms. No way is the first thing I'm going to do is go, 911, please come. Boom is happening. Our
Yeah.
guest is waiting for us.
Oh, tell me about the guest, John. Tell me about the guest.
Well, he's one of our most popular speakers from the past 4 years. He is senior investment advisor from Aligned Capital Partners, David Schneider. Let's bring him in. Boom. He's coming. He's coming. The
Come
technology is
on, David
working.
Schneider, you can do it. Oh, I think he's appearing now. This is high
Oh, there he
technology
is.
in
What
action
a
on
handsome
a
man.
live show. This is a live show, and welcome
Hi.
back to the Rumble Room, David. It's so great to see you.
It is so good. It's so good to be here. And let me.
Oh, yeah. You got to turn off the live show, my friend.
Yeah,
Attaboy.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I haven't done this since Letterman, a live show. And I thought collar shirts were required today on the inaugural show.
You know what would be required if you could tilt your screen down so there you are. There's the whole.
Oh, Lord.
You know, people are going to want to see the tie. There
He's
you
even more handsome than he was 4 months ago. Oh,
I
come
think
on,
this is
David.
great. This is fantastic. This is the David Schneider people have come to know and admire. So we want to make sure you're looking your best. So, okay.
So, David, on our inaugural, what do you think? What do you think of this live format?
No, it's good. You guys were lively in the first 10 minutes. I obviously gave me an idea of how you guys are feeling, especially of some of our issues with the United States and what Carney's up to. But no, it's
David, I have a question for you as we get out of the gate here, and that's
right.
dealing with the tariffs. Okay, it definitely has been an environment in which people think, "Wow, we're getting crushed by the tariffs. This is going to crush our economy. This is going to destroy us." Okay, but you know, I've been chatting to a few folks, even chatted with somebody live yesterday from Ontario. In fact, there could be opportunities from these tariffs. Donald Trump could be doing us a favor. Okay,
Right.
so what's the scene? What's the sense in the investment community about what we all think is a horrific horror show?
I think people always think the worst, and people get overly excited. And I think they also get overly negative with the leader in the United States. I think
Well,
a lot
I can't
of
imagine
investors,
that. I mean, he's such a nice guy, and he's done so many nice things for Canada so far.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that, Robin. But
well, I
a lot
didn't
of people
talk.
got
It wasn't my idea for him to annex Canada. That came out of his mouth. So anyway, go on, go on. I want to hear more.
No, so you got to look at some of the background. He needs Canada, and I want this conversation to talk about a lot of solutions and positive things, because I have to say a lot of people are hurting out there, Canadians especially, and people in BC. The glorious thing about Canada, especially British Columbia, we are a wealth of resources, unbelievable amount of resources. And Trump, I spoke for an hour this morning with our founder of the Macdonald-Laurier Institute, and we agreed that the amount of energy that's needed from Canada is paramount for Trump's strategy of a lot of oil and cheaper oil. Their shale formations are declining. We have technology second to none in terms of oil sands and other things. We do have pipelines in place. We have the greatest energy infrastructure companies in North America with TC Energy, Enbridge, and others. He needs our oil. And I look at some of the positive things. He's a negotiator. But Carney and Trump have very deep, close relationships because of past deals. And that comes back from the Brookfield days. And you got to recall that Trump's son-in-law, Mr. Kushner, got in big trouble because he did the worst real estate deal of all time in Manhattan when he bought 666 Park Avenue. Guess who bailed him out? And the family. It was Brookfield. And when the Republicans and Trump got debanked a couple of years ago during the Biden administration, guess who banked them back? Brookfield.
No.
There's a very close relationship.
He owes us. By the way, David, hold on. You're far too handsome for us to see just part of your face. Yeah, attaboy.
There you go.
Now, maybe even shift it down a little bit.
Yeah, I lost the screen there. There you go.
There we go.
That's better. Oh, that's
there we go.
So he needs our energy. And I have shared a story a number of times with my clients and readers. What Doomberg said back in December, that there was almost a deal set between Daniel Smith, Carney, and Trump. Developed such a constitutional crisis in Canada that it'll force changes in terms of policies in Canada. Because truly, Trump needs our energy. So I'm very, very hopeful, but also very common sense that he does need our energy. We're extremely well positioned. And some of the big energy companies are looking more at Canada's oil plays versus the US oil plays. It just shows you the amount of interest long-term for our oil and our access to markets. So I'm really actually hopeful that things are going to happen. I just think we're going through a very sensitive time with the Prime Minister because he got in because of the demise of the NDP party. And every day the NDPs do something else to even to lower their popularity. I don't understand what they are doing. So he's very careful, Manitoba, Quebec, to maintain that stronghold because he doesn't want to lose those NDPs that have come over. So that's why it's a real sensitive time. He's got that retreat, I think, happening this week or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's a real careful time. I know the Bay Street, all my contacts, when I was preparing myself, they all said the same thing. A lot of talk, no action. Really wants to see Carney not dictating where projects go, but changing policies and guidelines in place that then the foreign capital will come. You don't just pick Port Churchill or pick Port Montreal. You change policies, things like getting the emissions cap gone, the tanker ban. There's all kinds of things. We have an industrial carbon tax here in BC that is just asinine. Policies have to change on the provincial and federal level, and then the capital will come. And they're not stupid, these guys. They know the capital can come, but this is a real sensitive time, him coming into power and how the NDPs are acting. Canada's always like this. It's all so political right now.
Everything's political. It's interesting what you're saying about that. The momentum that I think Carney's creating, that things are possible now for the way we do business in Canada and how that can change. I see in Newfoundland, there's a new project going forward, or at least being heavily proposed. It's going to see a pipeline with LNG coming out of St. John's, Newfoundland, yep, and going to Europe. It's got British investors, and apparently it is not government funded. It's privately funded. They say the regulations have changed, and they are believing in what Carney's saying about how he wants to see things done differently. And I think that that's going to be a big catalyst from now on. If he sees that the parts of the country are going to get a lot of private money interest in moving forward on these projects, and they're not going to get cut out at the knees by governments changing their mind or changing policies, and suddenly they're high and dry. There's a lot of interest in moving forward on new industries. Do you believe? I mean, you're being very kind to Donald Trump, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But do you believe that because of what Donald Trump's doing, we are in fact in Canada on the eve of really diversifying our economy, unlike it's ever been diversified before, getting serious about markets in Europe, getting more serious about markets in Asia, and less self-reliant on one big market south of us? Well,
I think we're looking at other markets. The same Brian Lee Crowley, our founder of MLI, he reminds us in trade, 80% is proximity. Whether you like it or not, 80% of the success of trade is proximity. The United States is next door, so it's got to work with the United States. But we have opportunities. It was Brian that actually met Taiwanese officials saying, how you would like your energy to come from Canada versus Middle East that has to go through the Strait of Hormuz and by China? What do you mean? They never had anybody from the Canadian establishment, from government, tell them about opportunities from our West Coast. So that's where we need the tanker ban changed and so forth. But I think, say what you want about Donald, but he's given us a wake-up call. But it's like a father you don't want to listen to sometimes, and you look back going, thanks, Dad, for waking us up. Like, we are changing because of him. And look what even Jean Charest said. We're going to look back at this time, not 20 years from now, I think 2 years from now, saying, we finally got together. We finally started, waving our flag. We started to get excited again about this country and the opportunities, which is great. We hadn't seen it for a while. And, but I think deep down.
Yeah, but it's not because of an old father. It's because of a crazy man who's a criminal.
So you got to remember, we are done with Donald in less than 3.5 years. We have Mr. Carney just over 3.5 years. Get over it. We're stuck with it.
Okay,
But
here
there's a lot of
I
smart
have a
people.
question for you, because all this sounds very rosy, okay, and it sounds great, and I
Yeah.
want it to happen, okay, but there are some. Eby doesn't seem like he wants it to happen. The province is mired in debt like we've never seen before. The feds are mired in debt like we've never seen before. These are kind of not good places to start
No,
recreating an economy with a lot of money.
no, we tend to just tax more people. And I was hoping, and I will share it when I get it, some of the amount of capital that has left Canada. Investing is going to the United States. Record amount of money is going to the United States invested in their markets, not Canadian markets. And people and companies are leaving Canada for a good reason, and they're especially leaving British Columbia. I don't want to finish this broadcast without saying I've never seen in such a short period of time the devastation of an economy in a beautiful province like BC than what the present government has done. It
I
is the
agree with
most
you.
disgraceful act, and they're not business friendly. They don't understand business, and it's just not one business. It's not appreciating the importance of energy. It's the housing industry. It is every aspect, and it's starting to suffer. And when I start hearing that surgery times are being cut at the hospitals that look like Soviet Union 1982 that haven't had a redo, and it's 40 some years. It's incredibly sad for our constituents. And I've never seen a destructive government that has no understanding of business, no appreciation of business. And I go back to, Milton Friedman at Stanford University in the 80s, and they said, what's the government's responsibility for the poor? And he says, it's not the government's responsibility, it's the people's responsibility. And the best way to deal with these responsibilities is the private enterprise system and the private markets. Well, you've never seen a leader and an administration destroy the private markets in BC. And I want readers to understand that it has absolutely catastrophic consequences to the bottom line. Business leaders right now, I talked to a retirement home owner in BC, there is no way they're going to build another retirement home. And they go for mid-sized communities because the regulations, the attitudes, what they provide to run a business, it doesn't make sense for them to put any more capital in this province. That's retirement homes. No one's touching the energy sector right now because of the uncertainty with their policies, but also with the First Nations agreements that have been established. So you've got capital leaving, and then you also have the real estate sector where some of the big developers are looking at other provinces and other countries versus doing business here right now.
Well, what's going to happen, David?
What's
What's
that?
going to happen? This. I'm sad. I'm almost crying.
Oh, it is sad. Like, you look at the weather, like this past week or two, you look at what we have in this province. Julie and I have been just doing our boating out in our little inflatable boat and doing a bit of crabbing. And we look at this coastline, we look at what we have, and we go, oh my God, this could be the most magical place in the world. And it's just not the beauty of it. We have the resources of natural gas, of mining. Like, we've got everything on top of if we were that much more attractive for tourism. So it is like, it's a wake up call for BC. And, I know how long is it for the next election, but it is incredibly sad what's happened at the provincial level.
Well, there
And
was
they've
a time, of course, when forestry was king. We can go down that trail. But hey, I want to just shift over here because
yeah,
you manage people's money. You were talking about money going to investments in the States. And I look at the market in the United States, and it's still very resilient. Even though they've done lots of opinion polls that show people are very concerned about all the tariffs, but the market itself is going very well. And they say the thing that's really fueling the market is artificial intelligence, and companies that are behind artificial intelligence
yeah.
are seen as a prime place to put your money. It's the new IT stock that everybody wants to get behind. It's the new Microsoft gamble, which isn't much of a gamble, where suddenly it flies off the handle. And my understanding is that the United States may be behind on many things, but they're way ahead on AI, way ahead of Canada too, that they really have that market kind of circled. What's your read on artificial intelligence, and how much is it going to change the game worldwide as we move forward?
I think it's the biggest nut out there. It's countries that have AI are going to win the race. With AI, you need power. So you've got an incredible amount of intelligence in the United States with the leaders in Silicon Valley. They're brilliant, and they've changed their attitudes with the need of power. That's why you see the change with nuclear power, Natural gas is okay because all these big entities in the United States, these big global companies, need power. And they even came up to BC because BC has clean power and we're BC. Well, they found out that A, the province really didn't want them, and B, there really wasn't enough power for them to come here, so they quietly left. Heather Exner presented at the recent conference in Banff. Preparing for this meeting, I gave her a call and I said, so how did it go? And she goes, I'm still depressed. I go, why are you depressed? We are so far behind the United States in terms of AI. And it's two things, not only their quality of people that are running it, but also the power they have. We are sending our cheap nat gas down there and they're developing the power. And it's quite sad. And honestly, look at the leader that the United States has. They have David Sachs, one of the Silicon Valley, brilliant people right there. He does the All In podcast with the other three. And we have a former CTV journalist that probably doesn't have it's like the Conn Smythe Award winner for the Florida Panthers against the fourth line winger for the ECHL. It's like you kind of go, oh my God.
And it always comes back to hockey analogy.
It does. That's great.
Oh, I go, this is crazy, but we don't have energy. So she said, we don't have the power. We don't have excess power. Because with excess power, we don't have the electricity. So data centers aren't being set up here. So without the data centers being set up, we don't get the AI technology up there. So we're right now behind. It is incredibly positive to hear the changes going on at BC Hydro. We have a new CEO called Charlotte Mitha. She was the operations person for years, brilliant person that could have worked anywhere in the world. I'm so happy that Glenn Clark and the team appointed her as our new CEO. She gets it. There's some big plans at BC Hydro. It's an incredibly important Crown corporation. She's asking her employees to get back to 3 days a week in the office, and she's getting a bit of pushback there because no one wants to work in the office anymore. But that entity, Crown, BC Hydro, is so powerful. So one of the big positive things I want to come out here, Charlotte took over August 1st. A lot of big changes there. Glenn Clark is the chair. He took over about a year ago. Really see some positive things. They've got a lot of things to catch up. But what I like to hear that they are quietly talking about, they're more openly talking about, the province has been completely against nat gas development in this province. Tourmaline, who spent more money than any other company in BC in 2024, $3 billion, they're not invited to the A table at meetings. They're just because they're an energy company, and they spent $3 billion. Well, there's one thing that Mr. Eby and Dick says, they've read the memo. There's only one thing to develop revenues quickly and effectively. It's nat gas development. Our Montney play in Northeast BC is one of the biggest in the world. And it is so gratifying to hear the rumblings underneath. You're going to see a lot of news. There's going to be a big support for this sector because we have an asset out there that is like second to none. We have the oil sands in Alberta, second to none. We have the uranium sector in Saskatchewan, second to none. Canada could have been the actual sponsor for the LIV Tour, not Saudi Arabia, if we ever got our act together. We have that.
But you know what? I am so tired of hearing what coulda, woulda, shoulda, and you're a messenger, as our politicians are messengers. I'm telling you, by December, if stuff doesn't change, some of these woulda, coulda, shouldas don't happen, there will be trouble amongst the electorate. Big trouble. David, just raise your thing a little.
Yeah, they go back into the ledge in end of September, early October.
Yeah.
The Conservatives and the BC One Party are ready for them. No, it's painful what's happening at the hospitals, the cutbacks in all the departments. It's happening, and you've been in BC before. Now people start waking up. The business community's upset, and they've seen the business leaders leaving. They're getting the information. So, I'm really glad that the attitude for natural gas has changed, not only in BC, across Canada. That's good. We have a ton of it.
Thank you, Christy Clark.
And you've also seen an incredibly successful rollout of the twinning of the Trans Mountain pipeline. There was all this uproar. Oh, you're twinning the pipeline. You're sending it to Burnaby. We're going to have all these problems. We have all these vessels going. Well, what's happened since then? We just have had a ton of vessels going. There hasn't been a problem.
They
And
haven't
get
allowed as many vessels as they could, though, because there's still the ban on numbers with the tankers. There's a
I
lot
know,
more
but
that could still be done in that area. Hey, before we let you go, David, and God, we could talk to you for hours.
Oh, I
We'll
love
have to
it.
make the Rumble Room hours and hours
oh,
long.
I love talking to you guys. I just wish John had a collar on. That's all.
Yeah, well, we all wish John would dress better, eh? But
I know.
anyway,
I know.
the,
Sorry, I thought about it, David. I thought about it, but
I
it
wanted
never
to talk to
happened.
you about our workforce for a moment. And there's been a lot of talk about we're allowing too many immigrants into the country too rapidly. People are uncomfortable with it. Carney's announcing there's going to be a lot more coming. Then you have other countries that have put up walls on immigration. The United States has been doing that to a degree. Italy was doing that, and then suddenly Italy makes a very interesting announcement. They say we're going to bring in 500,000 people, workers, into Italy, but they're going to be on contracts. It's contractual workforces
Right.
coming in who only are allowed to stay for a certain amount of time. No opportunity to become citizens of the country. They're there to work. There are other countries in the world, their workforces are built on contractual obligations only. Places like the UAE, the United Arab Emirate, apparently only 10% of the population there is actually citizen based. There's only 10% that are citizens. The rest of the entire country are occupied by people there that are on temporary work permits,
Yeah.
making huge amounts of money. And there's talk now the Americans are going to look at that because they still need people to work out in the fields. They've got this huge need in agriculture to have people to come and work. They don't want the illegal immigrants from Mexico, but maybe they'd bring them in if they worked on contracts. Do you think that's where the world is going, or do you think it's going to be something in the middle on that? What's your feeling on that debate? Because it's one of the big bugaboos for a lot of people. I think it's what's caused things like Brexit, for example, to happen, was nervousness about immigration, and it's been continuing around the world for quite some time.
Well, they have incredible problems in the UK right now for all kinds of reasons, and similar to what we have. To give you an idea how quickly it's happened, 6-7 years ago, I talked to our former ambassador to France. And I said, so what was it like in Paris? He goes, it was great. And I was so important. I said, why were you so important there? He goes, all of them wanted to talk to me because they looked at Canada's immigration system, and it was the standard of the world. We did it so well. When I saw him a year and a half ago, he went, oh my God. And it was all the English speaking schools, no control. The students came in. It just got out of control. And it was all a money making thing by these post-secondary educations. That was the ring through. And it caused such a disaster. He said, it is the worst thing Canada has ever done. And now they're trying to unravel it. Something like the stat was, there was as many people from India came into Canada in the last 5 years as the previous 100 years. So it's really caused problems on the youth unemployment side. I think I sent you some stats. It's really sad.
But they're willing to take jobs some of our youth don't want, though, right? I mean,
I
there
know.
are people that come to this country taking kind of jobs, working in the
Yeah.
the washroom industry, cleaning the washrooms, and working in back
Hotels,
kitchens, and
yeah.
the hotel
Yeah.
industry, all those things. The question is, do they come as full citizens or do they come on contracts? Would that solve the problem, at least in the short term?
That's
It
interesting.
might solve the problem, and I think Carney knows it's the big nut out there that he has to control. Look how quickly they stopped on the post-secondary education, the percentages that the schools have. That's caused a real problem to the universities. We have huge deficits at all the universities now here in BC. You're going to see cutbacks there, but they are getting control. They just let the so-called English-speaking post-secondary schools in Canada to get out of control. They're all closing now. So, it is taking care of itself. And there's a lot of sectors that you're right. We need international people, like in the agricultural side. We need it, but we need it smartly. I think there's enough people now, and Carney realizes it needs to be addressed. But boy, it hurt the youth unemployment side.
But there are two different things we're talking about. Like, I guess what I'm talking about is raw numbers of immigrants who can come in and do jobs that we need done in the country.
Right.
And you're talking about university students who come in on university student visas
Right.
to work and go to our universities and colleges. The argument there is Canada in the long run benefits because these are some of the best and brightest from around the world who've chosen to come to Canada to study, and a certain percentage, a fairly high percentage, say, gee, I like it here, I want to stay, and they just add to the Canadian GDP. Is that not true?
Well, with the way fertility rates are going and our age, we need immigration to keep the population going. But as you know, it exploded. When you go from 300,000 to 1.2 million of new people coming in, it just got out of control. So it affects housing, it affects healthcare, it affects everything. And
I think that idea in Italy is a great one. That's a great one.
So we're not saying no to immigration. We're certainly not saying no to it on the Rumble Room, and we're not saying let's not bring in lots of people to do these jobs we need. We're saying let's bring in the best and the brightest as immigrants, and maybe for other people make it more contractual. Some of them get to stay, but a lot of them are here just because they have specific jobs to do, and they can actually make a lot of money and help their families back home.
yeah, and I think if there's one thing to say about the Canadian government, especially also the provincial government, I hope our leaders start learning what's called best practices and start going to other jurisdictions where it's working. Like I've been saying for 10 years, we haven't had a health leader in BC go to other jurisdictions in the world going, oh, they have better health outcomes there. Let's go check it out. They don't go anywhere. And you're right. I think there's some great success stories out there. Canada is always a place that people want to come to, but we also have a big exodus of people because there isn't the jobs that people thought they could get, right?
Yeah,
So
that's got to
it'll
change.
balance it out. And today there was reports that in the United States, they're going to have the first decline in population in 100 years.
Right.
Because so many people came, but there's not the jobs for them. So they end up, they're not the opportunity, so they have to go back. So I know I just very hopeful that Mr. Carney, when they get in Parliament, that they come up with some good solutions. We have to hope the best, and he is a very bright guy. I think the pressure really has to be on the Eby administration because his ideology, his lack of respect of business, is absolutely having catastrophic effects. And you guys do a great job talking about it all the time. And I hope you have some, future guests to talk about it because I think it's such an important subject. And I think
David,
it'll be a lot.
We're reaching the end of our audience's patience.
Okay.
Likely now at about 35 minutes. I want to thank you for being our inaugural guest on our reboot, our live reboot. Robin, David, any final remarks before we say goodbye?
No,
I just want to again thank David for being our first guest, and you were one of our top performers over 4 years during the Rumble Room, and you were great at covering so much ground. We really appreciate the thought that you put behind these things. I have to say that through the week, David sends us all kinds of ideas and things that we can sort of gestate on, so we don't come completely raw when we come on the show. We sort of know some of the things that you've been thinking about, and we appreciate that there's people out in our business community like yourself who are really deeply thinking about these projects and these problems and these issues and maybe solutions. And thank you for coming on and sharing those with us.
You're welcome. And by the way, you didn't notice I'm wearing a jacket. It's from 1994. I bought an Armani jacket on sale for a 38 short guy like me. Mr. Armani passed away at 91 years old today, so I happen to have it there. So
I'll try to wear a collar next time. I will try. Yeah. You guys take care. We are on every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we just got confirmation that the new Chamber of Victoria CEO, John Wilson, will be joining us next Thursday. So that'll be fun. And until we meet again,
rumble on.
Care. Yes, rumble on. I forgot.
Rumble on, baby.
Rumble on. Take care.
Okay, guys.